G'day guys, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. My name's Matt James, and today I'm just going to be doing a short tutorial to show you guys how to get into a stable orbit in Kerbal Space, because it's quite difficult if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, this will just be a quick run through. Won't be anything too complex. Now what you want to do first is over here you find all your little parts and stuff. Just grab a one-man command pod for now. Grab that, and first things first, in case something goes wrong, let's put a parachute on top of it. So just down here is the parachute, the MK16 parachute. Alrighty. And what you want to do is just grab from the structural tab, grab a stack decoupler, throw that on the bottom, because we'll need one of them when we come back from our orbit and bring our Kerbal home safely. Now, next what you'll want to do, what do we need? What does every good rocket need? Fuel. So just chuck one of these on. That is a, what is that? FLT 800 fuel tank. Alright, which is pretty standard for your smaller rockets. And before I forget, what they've added in the latest update is the need for constant power to your command pod, because it uses power as it flies. So you'll need to just get one of these, a solar panel, just a single one, and by hitting X you can change the symmetry and you can throw one on both sides in the same spot, as you can see there, and that'll provide us with all the power we need for the whole flight to get into orbit and back from it. Now, fuel won't do any good without the engine, so best bet, we'll put on one of these. We'll put on a T45 because it's got what's called thrust vectoring, which means this little thing will help us steer, makes it a bit easier. Alright, now over to structural again, and grab another stack decoupler. Alright, because every good rocket has stages. What you'll figure out about Kerbal Space Program is there are a lot of stages all the time. Now, go to your second page in the structural tab, and you'll see here a stack tri-coupler. Now put that beneath the decoupler, and you see it has three. It's just like a three-way adapter, which means we can put 3 more fuel tanks onto the bottom. Right? You'll see the symmetry will auto lock, but if it doesn't, you just like you can only get one. Just hit X, change the symmetry, which is the symmetry nodes down here. Alright, and you can change that, and it'll put things on symmetrically. Aha, bet you weren't expecting that. Alright, now I'll grab 3 more of the 45. Here you go, X, symmetry. We'll throw them on. Now, so that we're a little bit more aerodynamic, I'm going to put 3 of these little winglets here, the AVR8 winglets. They're pretty standard, they're light, they only weigh 0.202. I'll put 3 of these on because we've got 3, and the symmetry, if you've got it selected to 3-way, we'll just put them on. Alright, as you can see there. And I believe that we are done. We have the bottom stage. This will get us into the upper atmosphere. Then we'll detach that, and this stage here will be all that we need to finish off the orbital burn. And when that's done, and we feel like re-entering, this little stage up top here, the command pod, will be what brings us back. Now, if you look down to the right-hand side, you can see stages. You can see them highlighted as I select them. We'll start from the bottom. 3 rockets are there, and then I'll hit spacebar, and the next stage will, the decoupler will, it'll decouple, won't it? And then the next rocket will fire, and then that decoupler will fire, and the parachute will fire last. We're not going to worry about that for now. Let's just rename it. Orbit. That's what it is for orbit. optional. Alright, actually, one last thing you will need to know. These things, launch stability enhancer. Now, we probably don't need them, but I'm going to put them on just to demonstrate how they work. Alright, and I will... No, they're right in a stage of their own. Alright, and these, when you start, they'll just hold your ship steady before launch. Alright, so let's just go launch. Welcome to the launch pad, guys. Alright, this is where we will be launching our rocket, obviously. You have a nice view of the Space Center from here. The space plane hangars over there, which is where you'll launch space planes. Assembly building, Space Center, building that does nothing, etc. Alright, now down the right, you'll see our pilot, Jebediah Kerman, who looks quite excited. Thank you, Jebediah. Alright, in the middle, in the center, you'll see the nav ball. Alright, this tells us which direction we're pointed. Currently we're pointed up. To the right is the G-force, or I think it might be called the accelerometer. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know the fancy terms for stuff. On the left is your throttle. By pressing Shift and Control, you can adjust that. You'll see your velocity at the top, or the speed that you're traveling in meters per second. It'll be relative to either the surface if you're heading up, or it'll display your orbital velocity if you are in orbit. Up the top of the screen, you'll see the atmospheric measurer thing that'll tell you what stage of the atmosphere you're in. Light blue is the lower atmosphere, and then it slowly progresses until you're in space at the very end where there is no atmosphere. You've got your altitude meter above that, which displays your height above sea level. It's at 84 meters at the moment, as you can see. Down the left, you'll see your stages, and these will disappear as you progress through them. So when we jettison this first stage, that'll disappear, and so on and so forth. Alright, now at the moment, you want to shift to throttle up to 100%, because the launching is the hardest part. Like it's where you'll use the most fuel and you'll need the most thrust to get off the ground. Hit T, I think, is the default key to turn on the SAS, which is like your inbuilt guidance system, which will keep you pointed vertically, which is a great idea if you want to travel upwards. Alright, now that's everything we need. I believe I have not forgotten anything. We'll soon find out because I'll die. No, hopefully I won't. Alright, so shift to throttle up to 100%, and in 3, 2, 1, blast off. Hit the spacebar to do that, by the way. I should have mentioned that. Now your speed will increase pretty rapidly. I see you're accelerating quite fast. Now throttle down as you ascend, because in the lower stages of the atmosphere there is quite a lot of atmospheric friction, and there's only so fast you can travel, or so fast you can accelerate, before it becomes inefficient to increase your speed any further. Now I'm at 50% already, by about 4,000 meters above sea level. You probably want to hover between 150 and 200. You probably don't want to be going any faster than 200 until you break through the lower stages of the atmosphere at about 12,000 meters. If you hit M for map, we can see here it'll show us our orbit at the moment, which isn't very high, our apoapsis, which is the highest point of our trajectory. As you can see, it'll take us 22 seconds to get there, and the highest I'll get if I were to stop accelerating is 12,000 meters at this point. Now I'm at 10,000 meters, as you can see. So by hitting D, you can turn to the right. Probably want to go to about 45. I think that's 45 degrees, is it? No, about 50 degrees at the moment. And as we're about 14,000 meters up, increase your throttle to 100% again, and turn towards the 45 degree marker, which is this one. As you can see, the prograde moves as we move. Now our first stage is done. Hit spacebar to jettison that, and hit spacebar again to launch the next stage. And continue to point your rocket at this prograde vector. The prograde vector is obviously this one. It shows us where we're going. It's like a circle with 3 lines, 2 out horizontally, 1 out vertically. And that'll show where you're going. Your retrograde is the opposite, and that will show you the opposite direction to which you're traveling. Now if you hit M to head out to the map, you can see, pull up this, that's our nav ball. Now you can see we're at about 70, our apoapsis. We'll stop at about 80. So hit X at about 80, 85. This is the most, well, one of the most efficient heights to have a low Kerbal orbit at. Now you see that your apoapsis will decrease slowly because we are still traveling through the atmosphere. There's still a tiny bit of friction, and at these heights it will affect the orbit. Now you want to wait until your apoapsis stops decreasing, and we're going to add what's called a maneuver node. So you want to click just before your let's click on our apoapsis and add a maneuver. Now you'll see a few things pop up. We don't need to worry about anything except the prograde vector at this point, and you'll want to grab that and pull it, and until you've got a periapsis and an apoapsis. Now they're at different heights at the moment, which is fine. We can circularize it. Oh, hear that music? That means that we are in orbit, in space, sorry, above 70,000. So we've got about 10,000 meters before we need to perform this burn. Now this is going to be fine. Just pull this out till your apoapsis is at least above 70, and your periapsis, your periapsis is at least above 70, and your apoapsis is whatever. Now you can see down to the right, this is the meters per second that we need to increase our velocity by. I think it's called velocity. No, velocity. I don't know. Speed. Now the maneuver node is the center point of where we put our maneuver, and it's represented on the nav ball by this blue icon. Now you want to aim at that. We're going to need to burn for 33 seconds. So you want to start about halfway before and halfway after. Like if your burn time is 30 seconds, you want to start at -15, because it's slightly more efficient to burn before the node than it is after. Now your SAS should just automatically follow the node. We have 10 seconds left. As you can see, our orbital velocity is increasing. And when this gets down to 0, you'll see it switch and boom. Hit X to cut your engine. Now I've overshot it a little bit, but that's fine, that's not a big deal. And if I've done everything correctly, let's remove this, we are in a stable orbit. As you can see, our periapsis is 81. It needs to be at least 70, or you'll re-enter the atmosphere and begin to lose speed. My apoapsis is pretty high. That's a difference of about 100,000 meters, which is not ideal. But whatever, you're in orbit. Fantastic. Lovely champion effort, Jebediah. Thank you very much. He's pretty excited to be here, as you can see. And you can safely admire the view of Kerbal from your stable low Kerbal orbit. It's as easy as that, guys. Now I really did that quite quickly. I hope it wasn't too quick for you guys. You go back and watch it again. But really, I just encourage you to just experiment for yourself, guys. Like, it's a great game. I love it. But, you know, it's really hard to get the hang of. So don't be embarrassed if you blow up like a dozen Kerbals before you even get to orbit. If you haven't blown up at least a few Kerbals, you're probably not playing it right. But really, that's it. That's all there is to it. We'll head out to the map and I'll show you. Actually, let's go back in and we'll do a fly past. I'll time accelerate. And as you can see, we'll watch Kerbal fly below us. And we'll head round. And anyway, really, that's about all there is to it. In the next episode, I'll probably show you guys how to deorbit our shuttle. And maybe we'll work on some docking. A beautiful sunrise there. Very nice, very nice. Alrighty. Well, thanks for watching my Kerbal Space Program tutorial, guys. I hope it helped you. My name's Matt, and I hope you'll join me in the next part. Thanks, guys.